From We Are Spectacular, this is a Spectacular Marketing Podcast. A podcast about everything brand, marketing, digital and social for the food and drink industry and beyond. So I'm between meetings and I've popped into Benugo in Covent Garden and I've went downstairs, and for those of you who've been there, you'll know that there's a wonderful rabbit warren of cavernous spaces and sharing tables and little spaces for you to co-work, catch up on emails, chill out, have a bit of retail therapy, whatever you want. And as I'm looking around, I'm really wondering what makes great restaurant design. So is it the stripped back walls, the exposed brick, the industrial lighting, the parquet flooring, the school chairs? Well, I caught up this week with Charlotte Corbett from Caulder Moore, who are one of the UK's leading design and brand interior agencies. And Charlotte has got a real strong view that that's not the case. We discussed everything from accelerating brand love to how to get out of the sea of sameness that's popping up on the high street. And with Charlotte's 12 years experience, she really gets to the heart of how you can accelerate brand love and also make the most of your restaurant experience by staying true to your brand. Here's Charlotte, and I hope you enjoy what she had to say. So thank you so much for being the first victim in this podcast series of interviewing the great agencies that really are at the heart of the restaurant and hospitality industry. So basically, I was just wanting to kick off and talk to you about just how your journey has been so far. So you've been at Caulder Moore for 12 years, I believe.
Yeah.
So a lot less for some criminal things. So basically, it was really just to, just hear from you. What's your personal journey been and the journey of the great Caulder Moore?
Yeah, I think my journey at Caulder Moore has been really rewarding. I started sort of as a junior and I've really watched the business grow into something that I'm really proud to be a part of. We've always worked across hospitality and retail, but it's always been at the heart of the business. I think these two sectors, they're more exciting than ever before, and I think the fusion of both is really where the innovation is starting to happen.
And then in terms of the setup now, so when you first started, how many people were there? What was it like to the huge or bigger thing that it is now?
Yeah. I think the business is in a very different place to where I first started, and I think it's its most exciting time to date. We've just undergone a fantastic rebrand, which I'm really proud of. We've got a new studio on the river side in Richmond, and we've got a talented and enthusiastic team, and I think really crafting our positioning has been a fantastic move forward, and off the back of this we've celebrated some fantastic brand wins which have built on what I feel is really important is collaborative relationships. We immerse ourselves and embed in our clients' worlds. Those who will really let us in and discover their brand culture are the ones that are really successful, and we can understand how we can move the brand and business on. I
mean, I saw that you had rebranded your brand, and I think it's really interesting to see that you took that seriously, and I think it's such a great thing because so many agencies out there can be a bit cobbler's shoes where they're so busy looking after the brands that they work with, but they don't look at their own, and I think it's a fabulous, mature, really high level repositioning you've done.
I think it's a really challenging and brave thing to do, I think, to kind of expose yourself and lay yourself bare to scrutiny, and I think that's really what's moves you forward. And I think we talk the talk, so we've gone through this journey and really got to somewhere where I believe actually really sums up what we're about, and I think we're really excited about getting that out there, and I think it really is different and unexpected. In terms of our competitors, I think it gives us a really unique aesthetic and point of view.
True. So in terms of the clients you're working with then, so what about sort of right now? What are the clients that you're working with?
We're working with some fantastic clients at the moment. We've got a really diverse range, which I think has been really fantastic over the years, and something that has really crafted our unique positioning as an agency. We've worked with big household names and innovative entrepreneurs. So I think as a sort of 360 perspective, that gives us something really unique. We can work with big corporates, but we can also handhold entrepreneurs into launching their first brands into market. We've recently worked with Sweaty Betty and Joe Malone, Fuller's at T2. We've worked with Blow and the White Company, Gina Shoes, Wagamama, Cafe Nero, and also Costa Fresco. So we've got some great names which we've had a real pleasure of working with.
And just, thinking about some of those clients, the hot topic at the moment and the one that everyone's watching is Wagamama. So, what do you think they're doing that they're just getting it so right?
I think Wagamama, they are, which we'll probably talk about a little bit later, is that they've got a really edited brand purpose. They're really true to what they are, and they're really simplified. You get it. There's no noise there. It's straight to the brand, and I think people really connect with that.
Yeah.
And I think that is part of the battle of what's going on. Is that you have to get mind share. You have to really connect with people before they're even going to buy into anything that you're trying to sell them.
Yeah. And then I think, from me, I've been lucky enough to work with you guys on a few occasions, on a few brands, and, really what I was really impressed with was sticking to your guns and sticking to your principles and being immovable in that.
Yeah, we can be a stubborn bunch, but it's for a good cause, and I think that's the great thing about our process, which we'll come to, is that we do really come to a consolidated point of view, and there's reasons for that. So if we budge, it weakens kind of the integrity of our work and what we do. So it has to be right for the client, but we try and collaborate and.
I think the collaboration thing is such a big deal, and I think what's so important, being an agency, and I'm only learning the game. I'm only half as old as you are in that world, really. But really, finding out the clients that do want to collaborate, and I think when you are an order taker, for example, and you just say yes and do what the client wants, it doesn't make for the best work, and we will talk about maybe some people that are the victim of that sort of issue there. I mean, what I was thinking about was your design ethos. So in terms of what sets you apart, that feels to me something that's really huge. So how would you describe that in terms of your approach to design and your ethos?
Well, I think great design must ultimately always deliver commercial results, and that's very much about what our new positioning is focused on, this idea of accelerating brand love. We believe that distinctive customer experience sit at the heart of everything we do, so it's gaining that connection with consumers. You need to know your consumers inside out and know what drives them. We create retail experiences that customers love to discover, love to return to, and love to spend more time with. And I think time is key. If you can get some consumers to spend time with you, then you're winning. It's because time is such a commodity, and everyone's bombarded with brands. So actually getting cut through, and I think that comes back to the edited brand purpose is, and noise is just not going to cut it.
No, and I think in the market that we're living in at the moment as well, there's probably going to be a few brand casualties, over the next little while, and I think it's the people that have got that immovable North Star,
absolutely,
that they're looking towards across every touch point is going to help, and so many of the restaurant brands that we're working with and hospitality brands in general, there's going to be a lot of consolidation going on, and actually it's making what you've got better. So whether that's employee engagement or a better customer experience or a better environment, or all three should be going together. That could be quite interesting to see.
I think it's interesting that people are really kind of scrutinising their estates and portfolios, and there's a lot of headlines of people closing restaurants, and I think it's about doing what you do well. It's not about growing into some big multiple sites. It's about doing something well and actually being innovative with it, because I think it's really hard for brands at the moment because there's so many channels that they have to deliver on. With the rise of social media, it's not just having a logo above a door, it's training like you just mentioned, it's training your staff to deliver your brand purpose.
All the way through. So I'm thinking about your process in general. So let's say someone phones, Restaurants Inc. or whatever, gives you a call and says, right, we'd really like your help to start this brand from scratch, or indeed, reboot our brand for great commercial gains. What happens? Well,
I think the first stage is kind of meeting up with them and getting to know really what they're about, spending time with whoever is important in the business, may that be the owners or the key stakeholders. And I think we see ourselves very much beyond just designers. We think we're curious, we're thinkers driven to deliver commercial results. I mean, we have to live and breathe our clients' brands and really get to know what they're about. We uncover behavioural insights that make a real difference. So I think it's about getting to know their customers. So we kind of have a 3-stage process which is built around this idea of accelerating brand love. First stage being love is, and this is where we work closely with our clients to almost establish the brief sometimes, because they know they need help but they don't know what they need to do, their business goals, and sort of highlighting key KPIs. Following this, we have a process that we call straight to the heart, and this is about market, customer and brand. So we use our intuitive insights in the market, our knowledge of customers, and then really informing the brand and creating something that we call a 360 design experience, where we then apply that brand essence across all touch points. So I think it's getting to that, as you say, that North Star, and really sticking to your guns, really.
And then, for the process from there, then, what sort of challenges do you tend to face throughout that process? Because an old boss said to me years ago that, as an agency, you always want like a clear runway, and it never quite works out that way. So what happens that might make that process go wrong?
I think there's always obstacles, and I think it really does come down to people you have in the business as well. We're working with a fantastic client at the moment that has just been so transparent and let us in and kind of sort of look at the cobwebs. And I think if the client's not willing to let you in, you're going to really have a stumbling block, because you're not going to get to know what they're truly about. So I think you really need a team of people who really believe in taking the brand forward and letting you in, really.
Yeah. Do you work with other agencies then to have that 360 approach, or is that something that you do, across the board? Do you do the whole thing? Or
we deliver the 360 experience, and then I think we collaborate with the right partners. So we bring in the right partners to work with on the specialist experience. So we drive the brand, and I think we consider ourselves brand guardians, and we keep control of it, with that stubbornness coming through probably. But we stay close to it.
So thinking about the brands that are doing it well out there, who do you think's really knocking it out of the park?
Well, I have a great admiration for the entrepreneurial brands that have their heart and heritage in street market and festivals, and we believe that this is where the innovation is coming from. And I think it's interesting that I think people are cutting back on their estates to reflect this, because the competition is just so great. Like everyone else, I think everyone's a bit bored of this kind of cookie-cut approach. I think an example of this is Patty and Bun. They're now 10 sites strong and started their journey at the Wilderness Festival, where they became an insider destination. They created a gang made of devoted followers who resonated with the brand and wanted to be part of it. And I think Patty and Bun is a perfect example of a brand with a soul. And a story to unearth. They've got great food, but I think it's about the experience, and they really appreciate, I think, that it's really important to know who your local consumer is. So when you've got a new site, you have to tailor that to those needs of those people.
Something I was thinking about just on the Patty and Bun, they're coming down to Brighton, where I live, and there's such a buzz about it. So I think that momentum and that cult, it's still your brand, it's still the undiscovered band kind of thing that's playing in your town. I think that's really exciting. But there was something I saw the other day, and I can't remember the brand. It was someone like a Patty and Bun that's opening in one of these, sort of glass boxes, if you like. So one of the more corporate sites, like Anova or one of these. You got any thoughts or advice on going into those types of buildings?
I think brands really need to think carefully about where their sites are, because I think, and even with the view of landlords and how they're approaching who they take, I think like entrepreneurial brands, are they going to be attracted to the Westfields and the Victorias? Probably not. And I think that's why we're probably getting this sea of sameness, because that entrepreneurial energy and buzz and new experience is just not there. It's those brands that we've seen and really need to innovate. Sea
of sameness, I think that's an amazing phrase actually for a lot of the stuff that's going on out there. Is there any other brands out there that you really think are doing a good job or of interest?
I've been keeping my close eye on a brand called Butchie's, and they've just opened on Rivington Street, London's best fried chicken. They started a street market and have just opened their first restaurant, and the social buzz around this was phenomenal. I mean, the queues out the door, the kind of energy that they've taken from obviously those followers that they attracted is really fantastic. But I guess the challenge is, what happens when that initial opening is complete. how do they get people to return, to spend time with them? And I think that is the challenge, is, your brand purpose is key, because when the noise dies down and the queues are not so long, you've still got to deliver that experience. But I guess it's about getting people to return, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you deliver that straight away.
Yeah.
And I think another brand I'm really excited about is Brewdog, and I think they're phenomenal, and I think they're really innovating a market. Not just because my husband loves their beer, but they have a real voice and they have something to say. Two entrepreneurs who are kind of known for their controversial marketing stunts, but I think they have a voice and they're about something, and they've just secured the Old Ape and Bird site, which I'm really excited to see what they do there, and are looking to go into airports, which I think really needs something to that'd be really interesting to look at.
Definitely. And I think also they've almost become the touchstone or the template, for the entire craft beer movement, and they're so, copied along, everything that's being done, yet they seem to still be distinctive, although so many people are trying to be Me Too with scaffolding pipe and neon signs. They're
probably really stubborn about what they're about, and I think you can tell, because they're just way ahead, and they're creating waves.
And they've sold 1 million light boxes for homes as well. They're beer boards, so I think James and the guys are just doing a fabulous job there. So also was thinking about some of the brands that you might like to get your hands on. So have you got that wish list or dinner party? Whatever.
The list is probably endless for me of brands that I would love to work with, but I think there's a brand that gets a lot of bad press, and I think Pizza Express.
Okay.
I would really love to go in there and see what they're about, because I really admire the way that they have stood the test of time, and they really led the way. And they're kind of a brand that I've grown up with, to be fair. Everyone had their Pizza Express parties, but I think they kind of lost their way a little bit, and I think they need to reaffirm their status as one of the leading, pioneering leading brands in casual dining. And I think I'd love to really get in there and know what it's about, because it would just be great to unearth their brand purpose and really communicate that in a Caulder Moore way.
It's really hard to keep staying relevant, and it's especially when you've got a big site, because one change means 300 changes.
You've got to be agile in this market, but I think, again, you've got to be true to what you're about, because otherwise you just lose all sense of direction. So I'd like to get in there.
Definitely. And I think it's been going since something like 1965 or something like that. And something I really liked about the initial purpose, at least, was it was all about just conversation, and they just kind of happened to be selling pizza, which I thought was a nice thought, where it was bringing people together. But I think with the pizza wave that's coming over with Mod Pizza, Pizza Union, Project Pie, Pizza Pilgrims,
it's tough out there, and it's tough.
It could be a McDonald's better burger category scenario. So it'd be interesting to see what they do next. I hope they invite you along.
The other brand I'd really love to work with is right on our doorstep. It's with Gale's Bakery.
Right.
I think they're another brand that I think innovated a market. I really admired them when they launched, and they had this great artisan campaign the other week, and they were handing out bags at Richmond Station. Those beautiful, craft bags that any designer's going to love. But so obviously I picked one up, and they're giving away free loaves.
Great.
So Gales, if you're listening, I think you should get in touch.
So then, in terms of sort of top trends that you're seeing in the market, both I suppose hackneyed ones that makes you want to puke, or indeed, the trends that are happening that you're really excited about. What's happening?
We've sort of identified sort of 5 at the moment, and I think the first one, which we've kind of touched on, is to have that edited brand purpose, the simple clarity, which I think is great for, if you're just launching, of course, you haven't stood the test of time yet. So I think that's really important, is to stay true to what you're about. I think conscious dining. I think there's a lot of conversations at the moment about vegan fast food. What is that all about? You don't really have fast food in the same, context as vegan, but actually healthy food can be fast. So I think that's really challenging the market. It will be really interesting, meat-free concepts, and kind of bin the bottle as well. There's a new concept called tap and bottle, and all the wine, is on tap. And I think being more conscious, I think people are more keen to tap into that. And I think if you're a brand that isn't ultimately your offer, you need to explore how you can meet consumer needs, not in a forced kind of way. It has to be in line with your your brand culture. It can't just be meat-free pizza or whatever like that, or a salad. has to be exciting, but I think that's going to really lift off. Entrepreneurial innovation, I think challengers and fresh spirit, I think we've touched on that too. Localised visions is really interesting, like more rich, textured concepts, so nothing cookie cut. We're working with a brand called Antipodia.
Okay.
We launched their first site in Kew Gardens.
Great.
It's an Aussie dining concept. We know the owners really well. Got a collaborative relationship. We've just launched their new site in Richmond,
Brilliant.
which is doing really well. It's all about localised. So Kew Gardens was very much botanical.
Yeah.
And this new site in Richmond is all very much about the Richmond Park deers, and it's got that Richmond. It's got this amazing fire at the heart of it.
Great.
So those seats are going to be popular around there. But yeah, so that's really interesting. I think having a core brand, but then innovating it for different locations and things like that. And I think the fifth one for me is just this idea of you can't ignore social. So it's those Instagrammable moments that I think to a point today have been a bit of an add-on.
Yeah.
But I think actually, brands need to think about how when they're designing, how can you make that feel like it's integrated rather than just a bit of, signage put up. Or I think that's a really interesting thing to explore, because it's such a new window on the brand world, isn't it? Well, you can't hide anymore.
Well, I think you're right, and I think people are winning. I think I saw Jonathan Downey from Dinerama talking about this, and he had a really good view on it, where he was, put your money and put your investment into something that will be that sort of halo hero thing that people will want to take photos of.
Yeah.
So, like you're going on holiday to get that shot of the Eiffel Tower, Taj Mahal, or whatever.
And they can become iconic signatures of your brand. They can become what you're known for.
Yeah.
I think Sweaty Betty are doing it a bit with their icon.
Yeah.
The way that they communicate that in stores has become a kind of social phenomenon.
And I think there's a botanist up in Newcastle where they've got this beautiful sort of glass dome kind of atrium, and it's just that shot that everyone wants to get. And I think I was reading in Indie Eats the other week, and it was saying Instagrammability now is the number one factor in millennials choosing their holiday destination. So it's going to be happening for restaurants, and if you build it out that way, then I think
you got to.
Definitely.
I think it's a channel that some brands are really not giving enough attention to, and I'd prefer it. If brands don't do it, if you're not going to do it well, I think it really needs to be given some thought and should come from your brand proposition, and that should drive it.
Definitely.
So we'll see.
And then, what about your sort of tips then to stand out from the crowd? What if you were giving someone a bit of friendly advice or trying to help them on their way up, or whatever, feeling kind in terms of giving away free advice, what would you say to someone?
I think we'd say really drill into what's special and unique about you, and ask yourself the question, why should consumers fall in love with you? And if you can't answer that question, then we advise revisiting what the heart of your business is about, and don't be afraid to look at yourself. And it's never too late to reinvent and get to grips with what that is.
And it's just that bravery to do that.
I think it is brave. I mean, we've just gone through the process as well, and it's the most exciting experience at the same time.
Definitely. Definitely reinvigorates everyone. And what else do you think?
I think it's about probably the things we've talked about, so localization and all those kind of things, and just being exciting, not following the crowd. I think you just got to stand for something. Well,
thinking about that, standing for something, then you're heavily involved in branding, obviously.
We are.
You ain't just designers, as they say. So with brand being at the heart really of everything that you do, how do you even go about that? If you're looking to stand for something, what would you advise people to, where do they start? What do they do?
Well, I mean, branding wholeheartedly drives our approach, and it reflects our new positioning, accelerating brand love. And, businesses can get a bit lost, they grow organically, and I think there is always something there. There's always that little gem of information or something a stakeholder will say, or something you discover from a member of staff, which when you're so close to something, like I have been with Caulder Moore, it's almost like unearthing it and getting to the bottom of what that's about. So immersing, we love to immerse ourselves in brands. There's nothing more rewarding about working with a team and working collaboratively and bringing a brand back to life or launching a new brand. So, it's more important than ever before because of the multiple touch points and the consistency. And so I think branding is all about brand experiences now. It's no, there's so many different touch points that they all link together.
And then what about, how vital design is to a restaurant's success? Because some of the ones that you've been talking about, they did start from, an Argos gazebo in a street market somewhere. Yeah. And if you pair it right back, then... So what do you think?
I mean, restaurant design is key to creating any experience that consumers want to, spend time with. Especially when you've got these giants like Deliveroo innovating the market and bringing food to your door. I mean, how can you get people out?
That's a good point.
And so our design ethos is very much about bricks and mortar being an integral part of a brand experience. It's about this 360 sensory approach. Sound and scent are all important. I mean, what does your brand sound like? What does it smell like? All those things.
That's interesting. And, what you say is absolutely true, where a lot of the restaurant stuff, and I think that's why a lot of Italian brands struggle, that the restaurant experience really should be something you can cook at home. So what is it that you're getting? And then also, some of it is better than your living room. It's probably quite a good point as well. So with those two things together, Yeah,
you've got to go beyond the obvious. The food is almost, the quality of the food should be a given if you're choosing to dine out there in the first place. It's about that making you stay and comfort and come back and connect with people's emotions, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, even small things like just grabbed a quick coffee with someone at the Albion just on the corner here at Clerkenwell, and what a beautiful, amazing, incredible space that is, However, when I went downstairs, part of that full experience, to nip to the loo, there was empty soap dispensers with a Bayliss and Harding half-empty bottle there. Then you're thinking, you've paid X for a coffee in this beautiful, and you couldn't just be bothered enough to...
and that's... I think
that
comes down to that attention to detail and how actually important it is to train your staff.
Yeah.
I think staffing is something that is really going to be invested in by brands, because if your staff are not engaged with what you're about, then it's not going to be communicated to the customer.
Yeah. And that's always a hang-up of mine, what soap's in the toilet.
Yeah, exactly.
So in terms of, where you want to just put your head in your hands or, cry when you see a brand or something like that, where do people go wrong? What makes that happen?
I think this cookie cutter approach kind of makes me want to cry now.
Sure.
I think brands that are really just kind of running that out is just a bit disappointing for me. I don't think it cuts it with consumers. They're too complex. They want to be challenged and they want new experiences. But it's interesting to see key players, cutting back and thinking about what they're doing, and this following the crowd, this sea of sameness that we talked about. It all reverts back to lack of conviction about what they're doing. So, I want to see innovation. I don't want to go to. I don't want to mention any names really and expose anyone, but I don't want to.
Bleep it out.
Yeah, it's right. I don't want to go to. Okay, I don't want to go to Five Guys and then go to the same Five Guys in everywhere else. I just
Again, maybe you're just going for the food or the thing. Well, personally, I'm going for a million combinations of Coca-Cola and Dr. Pepper.
Interestingly, they're opening about 4 or 5 doors down from Antipodean in Richmond. So that's like almost the antithesis
maybe
of everything.
Different audience.
Everything, different audience completely. But my heart's with Antipodean. Obviously.
Just something more creative.
It's exciting, and it's come from an entrepreneur's vision.
I still like plastic cheese.
There's room for it, don't get me wrong, but personal choice.
So, and in terms of the sort of the perfect client, then we have talked about collaboration, which
definitely.
I think or is there no such thing? Is it a unicorn? But what traits would you be looking for? Because it is, a marriage of sorts, and also you do tend to deal with these people more than you see your other half.
Absolutely. You do have. It's more about relationship. I think that's how we see it, and they need to be, the perfect client needs to genuinely have a point of difference, be unafraid to, you know, articulate that and let people in to discover it. You know, there's room for the innovators too, but there's nothing, you know, better than launching a new brand. So yeah, I think we've talked about it a lot, but it's transparency. And for me, I mean, it's just interesting how much more successful, and all our most successful probably projects that we're most proud of have been built on that journey of, you know, connecting with owners or stakeholders and bringing it to life.
Yeah, I think going in at the top is usually a good thing as well, because that person, whoever it is at the CEO level, they'll just have things in their head that someone else is second guessing. Yeah. And, you know, we've found that projects definitely go wrong when we're not at that. Yeah, I think it's about being in touch with them day to day as well. It's not about this kind of, okay, we've got a brief, we'll see you in 2 weeks. You know, you take them on the journey with you, and you can, it's just more productive as well, it's more efficient, and you just, that's how you build that relationship is sort of, you know, it's not this kind of big reveal at the end. And then what projects, I mean, obviously we've talked about Antipodia and things like that, but well, you can talk about that again if you want, but just what I think over 12 years, what are the projects you're most proud of? I think we've come a long way in the kind of work that we've been doing. I think I'm quite excited about the branding I did for the At the Top. Tallest building in the world. So our branding is sitting on the top of that. Great. I'm quite excited about that. Definitely. But more recently, I'd talk about, I think, Sweaty Betty. Yeah. It's got to be the winner for me. So I remember when I started about 12 years ago, I worked on their branding. So I've been been taken on this journey with them. And we've just worked with them on their Store of the Future, their new flagship in Carnaby Street, and it's 3 floors of, you know, food, fashion, fitness. And they're a couple who we know really well now. They really let us into their worlds. They're really transparent. It was really time for them to do something because the athleisure market was just saturated. They almost need to reaffirm themselves as the leaders, as I believe Pizza Express should. Yeah. They really needed to do that, and they really put us through our paces. I mean, we had to do exercise class. I mean, you know, they really let us in. But that's good. So, it's good to immerse in the brand. Yeah, that's what we want to do. Yeah. So I think they're definitely, and when I see their, you know, their icon, I think it's going to be an icon that's talked about for a long time. Yeah. It's really iconic, and when I see it go, you know, all going down the street, and particularly in Richmond. But, you can't help but smile with the name too. I think they're doing it right. Yeah. I think I'm always excited to walk past Sweaty Betty. It's very good. If you haven't been, have a look. It's It's just it look a bit out of place. There's a fantastic farm cafe at the top. Oh, great! You get your hair blow dried as well. Oh, there we go. That needs to happen, and a beard trim because it goes far with a beard trim. Get in there. That could be good. And we've touched on some tips to stand out and stuff. But thinking about practical restaurant design, you know, is there anything that you just absolutely are your must-haves within a restaurant for restaurant design? Yeah, well, when we talked about this yesterday, we kind of opened this question up to kind of the studio and what we all thought. And I think, to not go on about it too much, but I think brand is key. Yep. Then there's the customer journey, so the spatial planning. I think, you know, with restaurant owners, they're very much driven by covers and, you know, things like that, you know, covers, commercial success. But that's great, and we obviously, that's the objective. But that can't be at the detriment of the customer journey. We've seen it too often where you're squeezing these covers in and people can't move. And when you actually evaluate over time, you know, how your restaurant's performing, you'll see that no one sits there. Yeah. And so it's, you know, so it's kind of those kind of things. I think lighting, you know, furniture, you know, you've got to be comfortable. The overall ambience, I think, is really important. And existing architecture of buildings, I think people should really play on that, and that's what makes those kind of ownable concepts. Yeah, I think Living Ventures do that really well up in Manchester. So, you know, Australasia, Grand Pacific, all these, and you know, the Grand Pacific one's almost like in an old bank, and as part of the building was pineapples. Yeah, and they just celebrated the pineapple, and it became so millennial. Yeah, and just like old banks and those kind of. I think they're really exciting. Opening in one of the old banks in Edinburgh, and I think that'll be some hall when that, you know, some hall when that's done. You know, I think that'll be outstanding. And then, what about budgets then, which is always an iffy one?
Well,
yeah,
that's a difficult one, really, because for us it's not really about how much. It's about being honest, I think, about from the start what your budget is and delivering that on brand.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, so I've mentioned about covers and how that that needs to be balanced with the experience, and so it's about doing something that's true and being honest about what you're doing, I think.
Yeah, and I think definitely what we've learned in the restaurant game, it really isn't about how much the budget actually is. It is sometimes how much have you got, and we'll try and help you with that. Yeah. So and it's such a a small entrepreneurial industry that the big brands eventually will have the money, but I think you've got to invest in the client too at that stage to not charge the earth and maybe take a bit of a flyer now and again. So that definitely helps. And then once it's all built, then
that's not the end.
Well, exactly. I was really curious. So what happens then?
Well, I think you need to evaluate and you need to analyse and you need to speak to your customers and see how they feel and get their feedback and be reactive. There's so much like technology and intelligence now that you can get to evaluate KPIs. So what's the dwell time? And actually track how many times your consumers are coming back and reward them for that. So I think it's about listening, especially before you open any more sites. Learn from it, and I think don't get complacent because you can always improve. It's a bit of a learning curve. I mean, we always go back and evaluate and see what we can learn.
Yeah, because I'm not sure every restaurant design company does that as far as I'm aware.
I think
so that's a great thing if you do that and you actually keep one hand on it to say how's this actually going for you rather than the painting's finished, we're away kind of thing. So that's great. And then in terms of so what the client should do next, just thinking about that question again, is it then that you think about a refresh program every 3 years or 5 years, or is it then you checking the evaluation and looking at maybe what's going right and what's going wrong and making small adjustments?
Coming back to collaboration, we sort of stay close to our clients. So we work with them to there's things that need to change. There always are. Because it just naturally happens that way. So we work with them to achieve what they want and what suits consumer needs and ultimately gets commercial results, I guess.
Yes,
is the goal, isn't it?
You're all in it for us, I suppose.
Yeah.
And then what about the future then? If we think about, we've talked a lot about the present and the past, in terms of the future of restaurant design, what?
I think it's all about consumers and what their behaviour is. It's not about what materials in and what's materials out. Although we're obviously on top of all that, but it's about that's what will define future concepts and innovations is the consumer and how they behave, what they want, the confusion of markets. I think is going to be really interesting. I think we're going to get some really unexpected concepts coming alive. I mean, they already are there, aren't they? I mean, Nando's yesterday announced they've got a DJ booth in their Soho restaurant. So I mean, it says a lot about what market they're trying to attack. But I think so. It's just I think the unexpected. I think less sites, more innovation.
Great, that's a good soundbite.
Yeah.
And then a couple of last things then, and I'll let you go because I know you're terribly busy. Where does Britain, the UK, London, beyond London, where do we stand in the world of this?
Yeah, I think London is just at its most adventurous, exciting time, and I think we do lead the way. I think there's really an opportunity to push boundaries, but I think that will come out of this fusion of markets. I think we're at a really pivotal point, to be fair, because this cookie cut approach is not the future. And I think we're starting to see that, I think, in the headlines and what brands are doing with their businesses. So I think innovation is definitely at the heart of London. And I think for a big brand, you want a store, you want something in London, you want some brand presence. I do think technology is going to make a difference. I think, internationally, I think there's some really exciting things going on there that I think Britain always seems to be a little bit more behind.
Yeah.
But I think that's one thing that I think is going to take off. Like you're going to be asking Alexa to book you a table, aren't you?
Youyes.
Ultimately, you're not going to be booking that. Yeah, I think voice is one of the future things. But interestingly, I think London is and we feel we know the market really well. I mean, we've just worked with Mod and Smashburger in their UK concept. Some people might presume that you could just take that US concept and bang, dump it in, into London, but you can't do that. We're completely different kind of consumers. So we worked with them to kind of establish how they were going to connect, and we've worked with. I think we were on our 7th site with Smashburger. So that's it's interesting to see how people are adapting their concepts to our mindset and our behaviour. So
Loving Smashburger, and especially haystack onions are just shockingly Moorish. But there's one in Brighton near us, and
there is.
I really enjoy that. I didn't know you guys did that. That's cool. So in terms of any final thoughts or pieces of advice or words of wisdom before you leave us, is there anything else?
I think just to reiterate, really, craft a clear, concise and confident brand purpose. Know your consumers inside out. Design an experience that's edited and it amplifies what you're truly about. I think that's the key to success in 2018, but we'll see.
Great advice. Great advice. So that's me finished my coffee now after relaxing in the wonderful surroundings of Benugo. And I want to say a big thanks to Charlotte Corbett, who's the design director at Caulder Moore, who really are one of the UK's leading brand design and interior agencies. I want to thank Charlotte for taking the time to talk to me and really speak from the heart, and also give all of us some real insight and tips on how to accelerate brand love and also bring your brand to life through your environment. Charlotte gave us a bunch of insightful takeaways, including staying true to your North Star, so that brand that holds everything together. Let brand run through every single thing that you do. And if you can, and this is a great phrase, stay away from the sea of sameness that's popping up on the high street everywhere. I hope you can join me in the coming weeks as we talk to more experts that will really help you make your business spectacular and make you even more successful. I'm Mark McCulloch, and this was Spectacular.